So this is going to be the third installment or third episode of me talking about the headphones that I personally own. And in this episode I'll be talking about more higher end headphones with the price ranging over $1,000 and to infinity. However, when you look at my table right now, I don't have headphones that are over $2,000, at least not for now. I'm actually looking for a headphone over $2,000, but sadly I just haven't found the one that I really like that I'm looking to purchase. I've tried, this is going to be a long one, by the way, because with this 5 headphones, I'm not just going to talk about these. I'm going to talk about their comparisons against each other, and I'm going to talk about the comparison with other headphones that are not here in this on this table. So I'll be talking a bit more about the more expensive or the slightly cheaper headphones that's currently on this table, and not currently on this table. So yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of things today, and let's get to the introduction of each and every headphone. The first headphone here, I will start with the ones that I purchased the first, which is the Aria, which is my first flagship or high-end level headphone. Maybe you can call it the hi-fi headphones, or like higher end headphones, not Summit Fi type of headphones like the Sennheiser or the 1266 or the Focal Utopia, but we're going to talk about those headphones too in this video. So this is the first headphone that I actually bought. The Aria is a very fantastic headphone in my opinion. It's one of the best at its price range, and it's at under $2,000. And currently one of the best, also the one that you can actually buy right now. And these, I'll get to the description of the sound later. Okay, the next headphone that I actually bought was the Odyssey Lcd X. So the Odyssey Lcd X, it's not the current 2021 version of the Lcd X. It's actually a mixed type of version. I have no idea what version you can call this actually, because it has the 2014 chassis. I mean, like the overall headband and the cups, but it has a 2016 driver with a memory foam pad. So I have no idea which version is this one. No, this one is not the protein leather memory foam. This is the sheepskin memory foam pad. So I have no idea which generation this thing belongs to. However, it's not the newest 2020 nor the 2021 set that's currently on sale right now. So yeah, the next headphone that I actually bought was the Sennheiser Hd800. It's one of my most favorite headphone of all time. That's because it look, we'll talk about that later. It's a modded set, definitely. You can easily see the inside the cups here. It's not normal, or even the rear grill here. We will be having a breakdown on the mods that I used here in a separate video. But the video is coming soon. I'll try my best to finish this mod as soon as I can and release the video. I still have quite a bit of gripes with the sound that's coming out of this particular Hd800. although it's I'll talk about the mods later. And the next headphone I actually bought was this, the Zmf Aeolus. I'm currently using the perforated suede universe pads, and yeah, I actually bought them when I was looking for maybe a Sesvara, but I just decided to buy the Aeolus for shits and giggles, I guess. It's a different one. It's quite a different presentation of a high-end headphone. Definitely a bit different from a lot of the other ones. And yeah, and the final headphone that I bought was the Hifiman He6. It's a discontinued headphone, sadly. It's very beautiful sounding. It's in my opinion, one of the most technical headphones. Full stop. And yeah, it's a pity, however, they don't sell these anymore. Although these have a very, very, very clear and blatant problem to the sound that hopefully that actually my mods completely fixed them. It's quite an elaborate one. No, but not to the point that I started like rewiring things inside the cups or something else. I just do physical acoustic mods to them. Exactly the same as the Hd800. I'll do acoustic mods because I am not really trained at soldering things, and I'm afraid I would start destroying drivers when I start doing them. Maybe I need a little bit more practice and experience to actually do those kind of things. So I actually bought all of these headphones secondhand because I am actually a very I like buying things secondhand. The main reason is they are cheaper, definitely. The buying thing secondhand is going to be much more easy on your wallet. And I also got almost all of these headphones at a very, very low price, in my opinion, especially in the country that a lot of these headphones are not actually sold massively. It's quite rare. You don't have an official store for a lot of these headphones in my country, so you need to import them by yourself, and that's quite a problem because you need, first of all, you need to wait a long time. Second of all, you need to pay a lot of the fees, like import fees and shipping. It's going to cost almost a third of the price of the headphones, I guess. So I'll be investing much more money when purchasing these new. However, I bought all of these actually for a relatively low price. Let me just put it right there. Hopefully my Lcd X would survive till the end of the video. So my from my Aria, this is my most expensive out of all of these, which means I wasted the most on the Arias rather than any of these headphones. I got the Arias for about around 15 million rupiah, which is about $1,000, somewhat about $1,000 ish. Maybe you can say $1,050 or $1,100, around that price. It's cheaper than $1,600 plus tax and shipping. Though, yeah, it's the most expensive headphone that I bought on this table, which means I got a lot of these for cheap actually. For the Lcd X, I got them at a very low price at around 650. No, actually not 650. I think it's going to be it's around, yeah, actually it's around $650, $650, which is quite cheap to be completely honest. The next HE800s, I got them for a very, very low price of $400, which it's always been a surprise for me. And with them, I actually got a $300 cable, so I basically only purchased these for $150. So I don't know. I know that it doesn't work like that, but $400 is very, very cheap for the HD800, especially considering their immensely excellent technical performance. And for the Aeolus, I purchased these for around $750. Yeah, $750. It's an okay price in my opinion. It's $700, so it's very good. And with the HE6, post the headphones.com hype, I know Resolve Andrew from headphones.com hyped the HE6 just a few months ago, I guess. He kind of hyped this quite a lot, and he really liked these, and I can easily see why he really liked the HE6. And the HE6, I purchased them for also around $750. So yeah, a very, very good price in my opinion. And I also got a Jenna cable, which is, if I'm not mistaken, around $500. So yeah, I actually got all of these for quite a bargain. And the HE6 I got was in a pristine condition, but sadly, because of my idiocy and moronic mods, there are a few scuffs and scratches on the cups, so that's entirely my fault. However, I got these actually in a quite pristine condition. Maybe a little bit of deterioration on the headband. The pads are still very, very mint, I guess. Yeah, so very good deal I have with all these headphones. So yeah, I really recommend you buying second-hand headphones, especially in a country like Indonesia where you can't get one new. It's difficult for you to get one new. It's definitely possible. You can. There are a lot of stores that sell them new, but a lot of them sell them for a very, very high price. So yeah. Okay, so let me get to the sound. Let me talk. I will talk about the headphones in general, not only the sound, but the build and my experience with them and the comparison against, for example, the Aria. We'll talk about the Aria first because it's the first headphone and the first one I introduced. So yeah, we'll talk about the Aria first. The Aria, this is the V2 Aria. I actually got, the first time I purchased the Aria, the Aria that I actually purchased was the V1 version, and I got second hand. It was around the end of the warranty, 1-year warranty that you can get when purchasing the Aria. So when I purchased the Aria, it was about 8 months old, 9 months old. So I got about 3 months left in the warranty. So after 2 months purchasing the Aria V1, which means it's about 1 more month till the warranty expires, the left driver suddenly popped and yeah, it just stopped making sound when I was listening to Billie Eilish with their insane amount of bass. So yeah, maybe something is wrong with the wiring of the V1, or there's somewhat of a QC issues going on with the V1s. However, the Hifiman's customer service was very quick and very responsive. I sent them to Hifiman and got the V2, so which is, in my opinion, a plus for me. I got basically a new set of Arias. So yeah, the older Aria house pads is a bit beaten up. It's not the most pristine condition of a headphone, but I got a fresh one, I guess, around a year and a half ago. So it's a complete plus for me. So yeah, excellent customer care from Hifiman, definitely. And the sound of the Aria is very unique. The Aria is one of the most open sounding headphone, if not the most open sounding headphone, at under $2,000. Its direct upgrade of the Aria is going to be the HG1000 SE, if you can get one. If you're looking to buy one, I guess. I think it's the direct upgrade of the Aria. I don't know if the V2 is still available. However, I've never demoed the V2. I've demoed the HG1000 SE, and I can easily recommend the HG1000 SE as an upgrade to the Aria. But the difference of the Aria and the HG1000 SE, while noticeable, it's not the most mind-bending type of difference, especially for over twice the price of the Hifiman Aria. The Hifiman Aria retails for around $1,600, and the HG1000 SE is $3,500. Yeah, $3,500. So with that, you get a quite more resolution. The spatial presentation is actually quite similar. It's soundstage imaging, layering, depth, etc., which means the Aria V2 is very, very good at that, and that qualities. And in terms of fit and build, the fit feels the same, feels basically the same. However, the build, you can easily see that the Hifiman HG1000 SE has better construction and looks quite more expensive, which they should, I guess. And with the Aria V1, the resolution is actually quite good. No, I mean, the Aria V2 resolution is actually quite good. I think it's in the middle of the road of resolution in terms of a high-end Hifimans. I think no, actually it's more of a how do I call it? Not high-end Hifimans. For headphones under $2,000, I think the Hifiman Aria is about what I would consider as quite resolving. I guess that's a bit more accurate. So it's definitely not the Hd800 levels of resolution. It's not the HE6 levels of resolution. However, comparing the Aria with something like the Ether, the Mr. Speaker's Ethers, or a lot of the Zmfs, or what else? Headphones around that price. Yeah, I can't really think on my mind. Like, definitely the MD1Z1Rs, the MDR-Z1Rs, the HD820s, and yeah, a lot of the headphones at this price range, or the Beyerdynamic T1s, or things like that. I think the Aria is better resolving than all of those headphones. So it's definitely not the king of resolution. I mean, because the headphones at this price range, outside the things on the table, it's not in an abundance. It's different from IEMs. IEMs are like everywhere, I guess. If we talk about IEMs, there are a lot and lots of IEMs at this price range. Not really the same with headphones. So yeah, it's a good piece of headphone in my opinion. It has almost peerless amount of image separation and layering and depth at this price range. So, and coupled that with their very, very good resolution, it's and to be completely honest, tonality and tuning, it's almost the top contender of this price range, in my opinion. And the way they represent vocals is something to be awed, I guess. Maybe that if you're going to purchase the Aria, maybe the correct complement of the Aria, if you're going to buy a dynamic driver set to complement the Aria, you have a few choices. First of all, you have the Zmf Aeolus here, which we're going to talk about later. It's a warmer set, definitely. It's a less technical, while the Aria is very technical. The Zmf Aeolus is not very technical sounding headphone, so it kind of complements the Aria in terms of that. However, both of them are not very good at EDMs, which is why I actually would prefer you to buy the clears over the Aeolus to complement the Aria, because the Aria's dynamic punch and slam is not the best. You probably know that, at least. So the Aria's overall macro dynamics is quite mediocre, actually. It's not the flattest and the most boring sounding headphone that I've ever tried. It's a lot. It's not a lot, maybe a bit or noticeable amount of. It has a noticeable amount of dynamics. It's quite better than the Ananda. It's not flat and boring as the Anandas. However, it's not going to have an ear-shattering bass slam or anything. The bass does extend to sub bass really, really well. It has one of the best sub bass extension at this price range for an upper back planar. But the slammed over slam and punchiness is not there. So yeah, it's a very good somewhat of an all-rounder headphones, I guess. Maybe if you listen to EDMs, if you play a lot of sub-bass focused EDMs, the Aria is going to work very well with them. Though if you're not looking for a dynamic driver as a complementary to the Arias, there's actually another headphone that is also quite complementary, especially to the weakness of the Aria. It's the Odyssey Lcd X. I know mine's not the 2021 version, but I've compared these with the 2021 version, which is, in my opinion, the 2021 version is a superior headphone overall, because it has that tonal balance lacking in the older Lcd X. So I think the newer 2021 version, or even the older setup of Lcd X, complements the Aria really well, because the Aria is very good at something like the what do you call it? Jazz music, vocal focus music, or instrumentals, or like very open orchestra music. The Lcd X is one of the best headphones I have on here when I'm looking to go fast in metal music and rock music with gravelly male vocals. It's very good with the Lcd X. It also presents a bit more authoritative bass slam for EDMs also, so it's somewhat the yin and yang type of thing with the Lcd X and the Aria. So yeah, it's easy for me to recommend the Lcd X as a complementary to the Aria. The tonal balance of the Lcd X when you go with female vocals is not the best. However, when you look at the frequency response of the Lcd X, even the older version like mine, you would notice that the frequency response was abysmal and horrible. However, when you actually listen to them, they are actually not that bad, actually. So yeah, and with that, it's somewhat of a thicker, warmer type of vocals with still sparkly amount of treble. In my opinion, the upper treble region of the Lcd X is a bit too bright for me. It's not the most harmonically balanced type of upper treble emphasis. The Aria is, in comparison, is definitely more technical in terms of having a balanced tuning, and the spatial presentation of the Aria is not going to be there in the LCD X. Definitely, especially the depth department. The LCD X stage is actually not very small, it's actually quite wide. The stage is actually quite wide laterally. However, the depth in front of you, it's a bit lacking on the LCD X. So yeah. Overall, it's quite a technical set because it's actually quite detailed too. People have been missing a lot of the details in the LCD X. It's quite a detailed headphone in my opinion. The detail in my opinion matches the Aria depending on the tracks you're using. If you're playing a lot of lower end, like lower bassier track or like heavier track, I think the LCD X could bring out a bit more resolution, especially for especially for the aforementioned gravelly male vocals. You can actually really hear each gravel and distortion of the male vocals. So yeah, it's a great complementary headphone, which is actually still a very technical headphone. It's fast, it's very fast. It's about as fast as the Aria probably. And the bass slams very hard too with the LCD X. It's definitely one of the more slammier planar at this price range. So yeah, it's good in my opinion, and definitely for the creator edition, like $1,200, it's actually a very good headphone. So I would really recommend the LCD X as a complement for the Aria. Basically, all of these headphones I actually really like, so I'm going to shell for them. Because if I don't like them, I would not buy them. That's the thing. And the good thing of buying them secondhand, I can actually try them before buying them. So yeah. The one that I actually didn't try out before purchasing was actually the Zmf Aeolus and the Hd800. I kind of like flip a coin on purchasing these two. However, for both of them, I actually really liked the outcome. The Hd800 is definitely one of my most favorite headphones of all time. So yeah, I kind of like the outcome. Okay, talking about the next headphone, which is the Hd800, it's definitely one of my most favorite headphones, and that's because of me basically favoring technical performance over tonal balance. So having a very, very technical headphone on a very, very cheap price, even if you want to buy them new, like $1,300, it's a very, very, very good price for its technical performance. It's one of the widest sound stages with a very, very sharp imaging. And yeah, it's and very good depth too. It's not a just long like hallway type of stage that you can see on the LCD X, but the Hd800 still has that 3D type of spatial presentation. So it's a very good one in my opinion. The detail here is also peerless under $2,000. Almost peerless, because we're going to talk about the next headphone later. Yeah, it competes in terms of technical performance and detail with a lot of the higher end models. For example, the Verite Opens. I think the Hd800 is a bit more resolving than the Verite Opens. It has a wider and better presentation of stage. Some might say that these are diffuse sounding, like it's too wide or something. But I kind of like them being wide like that. And yeah, it's definitely a plus in my book. Maybe it's not in a lot of people's book, but for me, I really like soundstage. So yeah, I think having a very wide soundstage like in the ones in the HD800 is very amazing in my opinion. And in terms of detail too, it's difficult to beat the HD800. I think this is on par with the Vocal Utopias. I've tried the Vocal Utopias and I compared them with the HD800s, and I find they have very similar amount of detail that is marginal at best if you're going to compare the differences with them. So yeah, it's an amazing headphone for a very, very low price. And it also has a wider stage. I know that the Utopia's imaging is a bit sharper too than the HD800, but you have a wider stage too, so it's not really missing a lot there. And it doesn't have the dynamics and punch and slam of the Utopia, which it's definitely one of the best traits of Utopia. So yeah, and it also has a very agreeable frequency response. So that's why I think in overall package the Utopia is a better headphone. However, the HD800 is not far off. If you like me and you like soundstage and you like detail, I think the HD800 is around the level of the Vocal Utopia. I know people's going to be mad at me for this, but to be completely honest, that's, in terms of technical performance at least, the HD800 competes with the Vocal Utopia and destroys the Verite Opens. Not destroys maybe, but more of a is a step above the the Verite Opens. But when you purchase a Verite Open, I don't think you're going to buy them for the technical performance. You do it is a very resolving headphone. The Verite Open is definitely a very resolving headphone. It has very good mid-range detail. However, their overall detail is not as good as the HD800 in my opinion, and in terms of soundstage, I don't think it's wider nor more impressive than the HD800, especially a modded HD800 like this. And the tuning of the Zmf Verite Opens is, it's interesting. I'll talk about more the tuning when I talk about the Aeolus. So yeah, the Verite Opens is definitely a very technical. If you want a more punchier presentation, maybe the Verite Open is a better headphone than the. I mean it's not maybe, it's definitely. The Verite Open is going to be definitely more. It's definitely a better headphone for dynamics than the HD800. But yeah, so in overall technical performance, I think the HD800 smokes the Verite Opens. So yeah, I guess that I kind of demoed. I demoed the Verite Opens more than 3 times just to make sure that my assessment was accurate, and comparing them and contrasting them with the HD800, and I find consistent results of HD800s being more technical. And yeah, for the next headphone, they're definitely my most favorite headphones, and I'm going to have a special episode for them, so especially talking about the mod, where I'll break down to the molecular level, like every single component of the mod will be broken down and explained and demonstrated at how you can put them together, I guess. The next headphone is going to be the Zmf Aeolus. So this is a different headphone than the ones here, because for me personally, I tend to lean towards technical performance over tonal balance. Because the reasoning I lean toward technical performance and over tonal balance is it's the component is actually something that's more eye-catching for me, definitely, because I can EQ the HD800 and I can make them have the best tonal balance for me, the most balanced sounding headphone. Or I can get an HE6 and make them sound like have the I don't know, Vocal Utopia tuning, or the Vocal Clear tuning, or the Aria tuning. But I can't EQ my Aeolus to have the wide stage of the Hd800, or I can't EQ my Lcd X to have the depth of the Aria. I can't EQ the Aria to have the overall punch and slam of the HE6. I know some of them, there is, in terms of sound stage, perception of detail, punch and slam, and etc, etc, you have, it is actually, in my opinion, somewhat affected by their frequency response. However, I don't think that's the end of the story. That's just me. If you believe in frequency response being paramount, I suggest just sell all of your headphones and buy a Sony MH755, which is a very good IM, and tune them to get the sound of and EQ them to get the sound of Hd800. It's supposed to be possible if you only believe in frequency response. But I believe that most of you, especially the ones purchasing higher end headphones, it's definitely not the most high-end headphones, higher end headphones, would think like that, I guess. So with the Aeolus, it's quite different. I purchased the Aeolus. I actually purchased the Aeolus not because I want a good set of headphones. I purchased the Aeolus simply because I just want a Zmf. That's it. It's not the purchase that I'm looking to buy an Aeolus to complete my collection or something. I just wanted to buy a Zmf. So I got them for a very reasonable price. And a lot of people have been saying the Aeolus is better than the Auteur, or it's like basically the best Zmf headphone. I know some people who really like the Aeolus, so yeah, it's I just bought one and I tried them, and it's instantly, I would instantly know that these are not very technical. It's definitely a very technical headphone. It's not a technical headphone comparing to other headphones that's over $1,000. So it's going to be a bit more detailed than something like the HD6XX or the 650 or the 600. It's going to be more detailed than the Sundara. It's going to be more detailed. No, I don't think it's going to be more detailed than the LCD2s, but maybe around the detail of the LCD2Fs or the 2Cs, around that amount of detail. So it's not going to be as detailed as the LCD X, not going to be as detailed as the Aria, and it's definitely not going to be as detailed as the HE800 or the HE6. But when I listen to them, I feel something different. It sounds different. It sounds unique in its own way. It sounds comfortable. It sounds thick. It sounds just simply comfortable. Yeah, I guess that's the best way of me to explain the overall sound in just one word. Maybe comfortable. It feels nice on my head. It feels so cushiony and soft and everything nice. When I listen to vocals like Melissa Monago, it's somewhat of a religious experience, I guess, because it's definitely not the most resolving. I definitely can see or can hear much more detail in the background on the HD800s, but it brings something different to me. It brings the thickness, the warmness, the timbre. It's something different. So yeah. Above, like around, like, how should I say it? Among all of these headphones, I guess the Zmf Aeolus is definitely the most different sounding. It's not with the universal pads I have right now. It's definitely not as what do you call it? Small sounding. It's definitely a wider headphone, but it does sound tight and quote unquote intense. It doesn't sound intense at all for me, actually. So it kind of sounds tight, like it has smaller sound stage when I switch the pads to the Verite pads. However, with the universal pads, with the perforated suede universal pads, this kind of sound very wide and very comfortable, warm and thick, and with still a very excellent tonal balance, especially in the vocals. It's basically a very thick and warm sounding, although it still has that hint of naturalness in its presentation. It's quite different than the ones in the Lcd X, while the Lcd X presentation is also warmer and thicker. It doesn't have that naturalness to it. So yeah, even the newer 2021 version, it's quite different. I think it hits very differently. It's not going to have the detail or the speed or the accuracy of something like the Lcd X, but it's just a more comfortable presentation, very enjoyable, very relaxing. It's one of the it's the only headphone I have right now that, no, actually only $1,000+ headphone that I have right now that presents sound like so. So yeah, it's a very interesting headphone compared to the other headphones that I have right now. However, if you're a fan of a lot of the prevalent reviewers on YouTube, the headphone that's going to be most exciting is probably this one, which is the HE6, the Hifiman HE6. I actually modded these a lot. I actually drilled holes onto this headphone, as you can see right there. It's now a modular headband design, and yeah, it's a very good sounding headphone. So the HE6 is the latest headphone that I bought on this table, and it's also the reason why I say that the Hd800 is one of my most favorite headphone, because this is the second one. It's insane. When I listen to these, that's what I always think in my mind, what always go on in my mind. It sounds insane. It's like the Hd800, although the technical performance here is on a different category. It's peerless, and it's almost peerless in its dynamics and overall punch and slam, which is quite rare actually for a planar at this price range. I don't know. It's actually not that rare, because you also have the Lcd X right here, which also have a very good punch and slam, but it's not as good as the HE6, because the Lcd X have much more bass, much louder bass than the HE6. it has actually the least amount of measurable bass in its frequency response on this table, which is insane, which is not out of which is in my opinion out of this world. It's something different, and it's very intense, very intense. The sound stage is okay, it's average, it's not absolutely nothing, but you do have a smaller than average soundstage. You do have okay-ish imaging, but the detail and the dynamics here is insane in my opinion. But it has a very glaring problem here, which is it's very piercing sounding. And it's not because of the amp's fault. If you look at the measurements of the HE6, you can actually see there is a significant amount of peak at 9 to 11k. And for me, being sensitive to that peak, I absolutely need to mod them. I needed to mod them to reduce that peak, and in my opinion I actually succeeded. This one actually has more bass, has more punch and slam, has more extension, better extension. It doesn't have that peak anymore. It has a wider sound stage. It's not bright, it's not as bright as the usual. It's even warmer sounding than the Arias. So yeah, I think it's a successful mod, and I'm really excited in talking about the mods later. So yeah, it's one of my favorite headphones. It still has that immense amount of detail that you can get with the HE800, which is unfounded at under $2,000. And yeah, I guess that's that. It's very punchy, it's very slammy, it's very detailed. Now with the open pass and the open grill, it's even better in terms of the soundstage. It adds quite a bit more soundstage and depth, especially. I compared this with the HE1000 SE. I compared these with Dynafis. And for some fucking reason, these thing competes with them. I plugged in them into the Hugo TT2s and compared these with those. And yeah, it sounds very good. Even comparing them with those, it competes around the same level. I kid you not, really. Which is mind-boggling in my mind, in my opinion. It's not going to be as it's not as detailed. To be realistic, it's not as detailed as the HE1000 SE. It's not as is as detailed as something like the Abyss 1266 or the Fis or Dynafis. It's slightly the detail difference is not far off at all. It's very, very minimal. Very, very minimal, that if you don't A/B test them, it's difficult for you to realize that, or unless you have a very, 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 very trained ears at listening to the HE6 or the HE1000 SE or the Diana Fis or the 1266 Fis. It punches like a 1266, and it's so, and it punches like the LCD4s. I tried the LCD4s before, only for not so long, but I remember the overall slam of that headphone is insane. It kind of reminds me of those two. The Abyss 1266, when you got a full tight seal, you actually don't have a lot of bass slam there, but but the HE6 still has that slam even if you get the full seal, so I don't know which one is slammier. So yeah, both of them are very good, in my opinion. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention about the Aria Stealth and the Verite Opens, comparing them with the Aeolus. The Verite Opens has that type of tonality of being warm, but at the same time being metallic. So definitely not my most favorite type of tuning. It's very colored, although the harmonics is not very balanced either. The Aeolus I find to be a bit better. I think even though you have a very distinct peak at 5.6, 5.8k, around that, don't dare, 5 to 6k peak, it's definitely a bit more organic, a bit more balanced sounding than the Verite Opens. And with the Aria Stealth, I think it kind of loses the charm of the Aria OG and the Aria V2. And in my opinion, that's because the Aria Stealth emphasizes or like adds advantages in terms of detail and dynamics. Maybe just slightly better detail and slightly better dynamics. And with the Aria OG has slightly better extension in the bass and slightly better spatial presentation. And in my opinion, that switch of detail and slight dynamics, and you trade them with its overall spatial presentation, soundstage imaging, depth, layering, etc. It's a foolish exchange, in my opinion, because the Aria, if I'm buying the Aria, I'll be looking for that spatial presentation. I will not be looking for dynamics, definitely. If I want dynamics, I can just buy the Lcd X 2021. Or even Hifiman's own HE6 SE. Or the HE6, definitely, if you can find one. Definitely much more detailed and much more dynamic than the Aria Stealth. And why reduce the best quality of an Aria while trying to be a bit more all-rounder? Maybe it's good if you're just going to buy one headphone, but Aria in itself is very good if you just only purchase one headphone. So, and I'd much prefer them to have a bit more character than just being a simple all-rounder. I'd much prefer headphones with character, actually, than just being a simple all-rounder. So, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the Stealth, to be completely honest. I don't get the Aria Stealth. It's good. It's still a good sounding headphone. It's definitely still a very good sounding headphone. Although it's just not, it doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, I'd much pick the Aria V2 over the Aria Stealth. Like I pick the HG800 over the HG800S. But that's because of a different reason. To be completely honest, I pick the HG800s because it's cheaper. And I guess that's the only reason why I picked the HG800 over the HG800S. Because I actually don't have any problems with the treble of the HG800, or original treble HG800. So it's okay to me, actually. And it has a bit more tighter bass, as some people might say. Although when I compared them with to be frank, it's not a very ideal environment when I compared the HG800 to the HG800S, and it's with a different cable too, so I can't really say. And there's not much of a difference in terms of bass, speed, and cleanliness, but I do get a hint of warmth with the lower frequencies of the HG800S. And I think the HG800 being modded is a bit better than the HG800S stock So yeah, and I can't see that the HG800S being modded to be monumentally or even better than the HG800S and HG800 modded. So they're going to be about the same level anyways when you mod them. So yeah, and it's much cheaper too, especially at the price that I got them. That's why I favor the HG800. It's cheaper for very similar qualities, and I'm not bothered by the 5K ish thing. And I need to talk a little bit about the clears actually, and there's a reason why the focal clear is not here. I got offers for focal clears and I almost buy focal clears like 3 to 4 times actually, and I always decided not to buy one. And the reason to that is because of the bass clipping that I've mentioned in the vocal clear review. And with the clear MGs going out, I don't like the MGs as good as much as I like the vocal clears. The MG's overall tonal balance is just basically a downgrade of the original vocal clears. So I have no idea why they think that reducing the overall upper mid-range and lower treble is a good idea, while boosting the upper treble of the MG is a good idea. It's I don't think it's a good one. But yeah, they're the company. They know best. Okay, Vocal knows best, and yeah, I don't get a lot of things, I guess. And especially I don't really get the HG8XX. Oh fuck that thing, man. I really don't get that one. And I'm sure a lot of you really wouldn't get that one either. What else am I talking about? I was looking to actually buy the Biodynamic T1, however I find them to be a lesser HD800, so what's the purpose in buying one when I already got the HD800? So yeah, I guess that's that for the video today. Don't forget to stay tuned for the final episode of me talking about IEMs versus headphones. See you next time, Godspeed.